No public goodbye, no tribute, no final words. And the one person the world expected to speak vanished like she had never existed. July 20th, 2025. A father, a daughter, and a quiet slice of paradise in Costa Rica. The day began with laughter, with the sound of gentle waves, with a father chasing a red and yellow beach ball for his little girl. "Don't cry, baby. I'll go get your ball." Those were the last words he would ever speak. Seconds later, the laughter died. The ocean roared and then, silence. Witnesses said the girl stood frozen on the sand, her eyes locked on her father's body as it was dragged from the water. No screams, no tears, just a hollow stillness that tore at the hearts of everyone there. Lifeguards and strangers worked frantically for 45 endless minutes, performing CPR as if sheer willpower could rewind time. But in the end, the man millions knew as Theo Huxtable was gone. The news raced across the globe before the sun had even set. Social media ignited with grief. Fans posted old clips from The Cosby Show. Theo dancing, Theo learning life lessons, Theo being the brother they always wanted. Celebrities poured out tributes. Angela Bassett called him a light in our culture. Regina King, once linked to him romantically, wrote just one word: shattered. Even Bill Cosby, a figure buried in his own controversy, spoke publicly. "He was like a son to me. My heart is broken." The world mourned, but the one voice that mattered most, his wife's, was nowhere to be found. No Instagram post, no statement, not even a thank you to the millions grieving her husband. Days passed, still nothing. Then came the shock. There would be no public funeral, no live stream, no memorial service where fans could gather. Just a private ceremony behind closed doors, with the curtains drawn tight. The announcement didn't even come from her. It came from an unnamed family source. Fans were outraged. "He was our family too," one wrote. "All we wanted was to say goodbye." Hashtags exploded. "Justice for Theo," "Where is Malcolm's wife?" "Let us say goodbye." Some defended her silence, saying she was grieving in her own way or protecting their daughter. But as the days passed, that silence began to feel less like grief and more like an unanswered question. Rumors began to swirl. Rumors of secrets, of shame, of something darker. One detail spread quickly. A witness from the beach claimed the little girl had whispered, "Don't cover Daddy. I need to see how he comes back." That sentence haunted everyone who heard it. Even stranger, the woman who was supposed to be the anchor of this family seemed to vanish. No public appearance, no interviews. Not even a trace of her in the places she was once seen. It was as if she had erased herself from the world. People tried to dig into her past, but they found almost nothing. Rumors that she had once worked in the music industry. Whispers of a quiet wedding around 2018, but no photos, no public record, no social media trail. She was a ghost, and ghosts leave people unsettled. Theories exploded online. Was she hiding something, protecting someone? Or had Malcolm himself wanted her to disappear from the narrative? And then came an even stranger account. A retired airport worker recognized her boarding a private jet shortly after Malcolm's death. She was dressed in a hoodie and sunglasses, moving quickly, clutching her daughter's hand. The worker claimed that when the little girl began crying, saying she wanted her daddy, the woman coldly replied, "Daddy's gone. Don't make a scene." That single sentence ignited the internet. People called her the Ice Queen. Questions multiplied. Where was she going? Why didn't she attend the funeral? And why had she left Costa Rica so quickly? The pressure mounted until Malcolm's publicist issued a vague statement asking for privacy. But the wording only fueled suspicion. Then, 10 days after his death, an anonymous Reddit post appeared in a fan forum. The user claimed to be a staff member at the beach house where the family stayed. They described Malcolm as quiet, withdrawn, while his wife seemed detached, constantly on her phone, barely speaking to him. On the second night, they allegedly heard an argument, raised voices, slamming doors, and crying that didn't sound like it came from Malcolm or his daughter. The next day, the couple was seen having a tense, low-voiced conversation on the beach. His wife eventually walked away alone, disappearing toward a private spa. 4 hours later, Malcolm was dead. As if this wasn't enough, the autopsy report leaked. It revealed that Malcolm hadn't simply drowned. He'd suffered a seizure underwater, a rare neurological event that could have been triggered by a head injury. That detail set off a wildfire of theories. Had he fallen? Was he injured before entering the water? Could it have happened during that argument? Online sleuths began connecting dots: the fight, the missing security footage from the back of the villa, her sue. The story might have ended there for the public, a tragic accident wrapped in unanswered questions. But just when the world thought it had heard the last chapter, the truth began to crack through the silence. 3 weeks after Malcolm's death, when most of the media had moved on, a lawyer in a charcoal grey suit stepped onto the courthouse steps. He wasn't there for a press conference. He was there to file documents. Inside his briefcase was Malcolm's will, and what it contained turned the entire story upside down. In clear, notarized handwriting dated 6 months before his death, Malcolm had written, "If I pass unexpectedly, I ask that my daughter be surrounded by love, truth, and healing. I do not wish for my wife to speak at my service. Too much has been left unsaid. Let my silence speak." Those words dropped like a bomb. Fans who had clung to the image of a happy marriage now had to face the possibility that something had been deeply wrong long before the waves took him. And then came the most haunting clause of all. Malcolm didn't want a big funeral, didn't want flowers, didn't want music. He wanted peace, and he explicitly did not want his wife present. Within hours, the will was public. The internet erupted. People scoured old photos, old interviews, hunting for signs they had missed. Did the smiles look forced? Did the body language tell a different story? Comment sections flooded with speculation. And then, after 27 days of complete silence, she finally appeared. Not at a memorial, not in a statement, but walking into a grief therapy center in upstate New York. She held her daughter's hand tightly. Paparazzi cameras snapped furiously. The little girl looked pale, thinner than before, eyes sunken as if sleep had been a stranger for weeks, and on the woman's left hand, nothing. The wedding ring was gone. A reporter called out, "Why weren't you there for his goodbye?" She didn't answer, but her daughter did, in a small, clear voice that carried through the cold air. Daddy told her not to come. That single sentence froze the crowd. Within an hour, the clip went viral. Millions watched it, replayed it, argued about it. Some defended her, saying she was honoring his wishes. Others saw it as confirmation that whatever had broken between them had been far deeper than anyone had guessed. Then the leaks began. A former colleague spoke anonymously, revealing that in his final year, Malcolm had seemed different, distracted, guarded. Not with his fans, but with someone close. He'd spoken about trying therapy, about making it work, but also about feeling watched in his own home. Rumors of trial separations and tense arguments behind closed doors began to look less like gossip and more like unspoken truth. The most damning leak came next. A voicemail from Malcolm to his attorney, recorded just weeks before the trip. His voice was steady, but tired. "I'm done pretending. If something happens to me, don't let her rewrite the story. Protect my daughter. That's all I care about." It wasn't just a message, it was a warning. And now, in hindsight, it sounded prophetic. Public opinion was split in two. One side saw a grieving widow protecting her child from a prying, judgmental world. The other saw a woman with too much to hide, who had taken her silence and vanished before anyone could ask the right questions. Then came the 40th day after Malcolm's death. His mother and siblings organized a private memorial at a small church in Brooklyn, the neighborhood where he'd grown up. Only close friends, family, and a few trusted former co-stars were invited. No cameras, no press. But even in this intimate setting, something happened that no one expected. As the service reached its quietest moment, the little girl stood up. She held a framed photo of her father, her small fingers gripping it so tightly her knuckles whitened. Her voice shook, but she spoke clearly. "My dad didn't want a big funeral. He didn't want music or flowers. He just wanted peace. But I need to say this because I couldn't say it on the beach when they took him away. I love you, Daddy. I saw what happened. I saw who tried to help and who didn't. And I will never forget." The room fell silent. You could hear the breath catch in people's throats. Some thought she was speaking about strangers on the beach. Others believed she was talking about someone much closer. Her words were never explained, but those in the room said they would never forget them. By the time the service ended, people were in tears, some from grief, others from the unshakable feeling that they had just heard a child's coded confession. And then, as quietly as she had appeared, the girl was gone, ushered out by family into waiting cars. That moment might have faded into whispered memory if not for a hidden camera. Someone inside the church had recorded the speech. Within hours, the clip leaked online. It spread like wildfire. Artists painted portraits of the moment. Writers penned poems. People